Hey, welcome to Speechless. We're glad to have you here on this 4th of July weekend. We are live from the SCC studios in White Bear Lake, also showing live out of SPNN in St. Paul. And if you have questions or comments on today's show, be sure to call in at 651-747-3830. If you don't want to call in, you can send an email there. You see the email SpeechlessMN@gmail.com. And since it's July 4th and coming up tomorrow, and I want this show to emphasize keeping your independence. And so the subject matter today, my guest will be on later, Andrew Henderson, and it's going to be how to interact with the police or how to talk to the police, and how to protect your liberties when you are confronted with the police and not give them up. And we want to get you in the right frame of mind, get you calmed down, and, you know, the police are there supposedly to protect your liberties, but you are the only one, the final person who has to protect your liberties. It's up to you. So we want you to understand what's going on in the process when they pull you over for traffic stops, when they knock on your door, when you're walking along the street and the police come up to you. What are your rights? How do you interact? Well, here's where we get into our discussion, and this is why it's important, is how to talk to the police, how to interact with the police when they pull you over. And even if you're an attorney, it may not always work, you know, and it may not go well. But I have on the show my guest, Andrew Henderson, and glad to have you back. You were on just about a month and a half ago, talking about your experiences with being pulled over by the police. And so you're going to educate us. Last time it was more about your situation. Today we're going to talk about, you know, what do you do when the police are there and they're asking tons of questions and you don't know what's going on. What do you do? And so what do you do?
Well, Tim, for most people, it is a pretty intimidating situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting asked questions. There's bright lights around you. I'd say the first thing that anybody should do is always remain calm. It's important to remain calm in that situation because not only you are under stress, but the officer's under stress too. He or she does not know what they're walking into.
So what I'm hearing you say here, you not only have to think about yourself, you do have to think about them too.
Right.
Because they're coming up to car, they know all the stories of going up to cars and guns being pulled out and they're dead.
Sure. And
they're shot at. And all they're doing is, maybe doing, is just a safety check. Your tire may be flat or loosening pressure. You know, you may be drunk. Mm-hmm. They may be protecting other people's lives. You know, they don't know. You know, you don't know why they're stopping you.
Sure, it's. I mean, you're both strangers to each other at that point in time. So. Yeah,
absolutely. But you've been pulled over a number of times.
I have.
Okay, so the first thing to do is remain calm.
Right.
And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go through your stop and kind of break down. Well, let's go. Explain a little more. Then we'll get your video and show how you you worked through this situation that was taking place. So the police officer, you know, they're nervous. You're nervous. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nerve-wracking because it seems like there is this attitude of taxation by citation. We're just going to pull you over for any reason we want, and we want that ticket because we need the revenue to pay our income or to come into the city.
You know, some officers behave like that. Others don't. I mean, it's all up to the individual officer how they behave. Okay. One thing that I also recommend while in a traffic stop is to always keep your hands on the wheel.
On the steering wheel?
On the steering wheel.
At the bottom or at the top?
I usually put mine at the top because it shows the officer that you have no weapons and that you're not going for anything.
And they can see that coming up behind you.
Yes.
So right away you're putting them at ease that you're respecting them. Mm-hmm. That you know that they see, okay, you know to put your hands up there, you're trying to respect them.
That's right. Another thing that I would also recommend is that you only roll down your window 3 to 4 inches, just enough to pass papers through and to communicate with the officer.
Well, that's interesting. Why would that be?
Well, so the officers don't have the probable cause to say they smelt something, or see more inside your vehicle than what they already have.
So what's wrong with them? I mean, smelling something in the car or seeing something in the car?
Well, I mean, there could be an odor in the car that they could confuse as a drug odor, and then they would have probable cause to search your car.
I can see where somebody can confuse a body odor as marijuana.
Sure.
You know,
and
some people have it that bad.
Right. And also in Minnesota, there's a plain view rule, which means if you have anything that is illegal in your car, and if an officer sees that, they now have probable cause to search your vehicle.
Okay. So you just want to protect yourself anyway. Well, maybe they see something and they misinterpret what they see.
That could be too, and that has happened in the past.
And then you're just loaded with a whole bunch of problems.
Right.
When you're innocent.
Right.
So it's just really an avenue to protect yourself.
Yes.
Don't most officers, well, do they respect that 2 inches, an inch and a half that you roll down that window, or do they complain about it?
I've personally never had a problem with that. I've seen videos of some officers having a problem with that, and they want it rolled down all the way. There's no real reason to roll it down all the way.
Why would they be saying roll it down all the way?
Well, to smell.
So they want to do a search.
Yeah.
So without probable cause, although in order to pull you over, they have to have probable cause, don't they?
Yes.
And is there also reasonable suspicion in there? That's a less of a standard, but to pull you over, they got to have probable cause, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And so they have to have something to pull you over. After that, they still can't get in your car, even with probable cause.
No.
They have no right to go in.
Right.
So they're doing a search as much as they can in the meantime. That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to limit their search.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would recommend to you and your viewers is that if you reach for anything like your driver's license, that you tell the officer what you're doing before you do it. So if you were pulled over and the officer asks you for your driver's license, say, I'm reaching for my wallet, getting my driver's license. That way they know what you're doing, and it provides safety for them and you.
You know, one thing I would do is, and kind of the question is, when do you do that? I mean, I would take my wallet out once the lights came on. You know, I'd try to find a safe place to pull over. If it was going to take me a while, I'd wave them. Just follow me. I see you there. Just come here. I'm going to a safe place. And then I'd pull my wallet out, put it up on the dash right away. Is that really an issue when, you know?
I wouldn't recommend doing that just because when the officer is behind you, they're watching what you're doing. And if you're reaching for things while they're trying to pull you over, it sends up some red flags for them, like that you may either be hiding something or, you know, going for a weapon or something.
Okay.
So I would recommend not doing anything until you're asked to by that officer.
But the main thing you said here is that you tell them, or you ask them if you can get your license out of your back pocket. So you're asking and telling them what you're going to do.
That's correct, yes.
So you're getting permission?
Not necessarily permission, but just, you know, saying I'm getting this for you because you asked. I would definitely wait till they asked for it before giving it to them.
So something like my wallet is in my glove compartment, and my license is in my wallet. Can I go into my glove compartment to retrieve it?
Yeah.
And then they're going to have their light over there helping you find it.
Right.
Also looking if there's a gun there. So.
Right.
Or if it's in your back pocket, you tell them my wallet's in the back pocket and driver's license is in there.
Sure.
You know, can I get that? I'm going to get that now. And then they know that's cooperating then.
Right, right.
And what else would you do? I mean, how else could you get it? You know, so they expect that.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So after that, what do you do?
I would remain as silent as possible. During a traffic stop, police officers are looking for a way to incriminate you. Usually the first question that an officer asks when they come up to your window is, do you know why I pulled you over?
Yes, yeah, they do that, definitely. Everybody's heard that question, and it is the first question. So it's just kind of, what's going on there?
Sure. Well, the officer is looking for you to admit guilt in some way. If you say, yes, I was speeding, you just admitted guilt, and you're probably going to get a fine for that. I recommend answering questions with questions. So if an officer says, do you know why I pulled you over? You can respond with something like, why did you pull me over? I would talk as little as possible, just because they try to get you to talk to incriminate yourself. Police officers are trained to do that. They go through schooling to get people to incriminate themselves.
To engage in a conversation. They're just acting like, oh, this is just run-of-the-mill, just answer my question, this is standard, this is what we do, no big deal.
Right.
But in the meantime, they are trying to get you to admit something that they may not even know of.
Sure, it's either to admit something, or if they suspect you of DWI, they may want to get you to talk just to be able to smell your breath.
Well, that's a big reason right there. Get you to talk. They may want to smell your breath. Okay. I think the mentality here is, why are they asking this question? Do you know why I pulled you over? I mean, just sitting back and thinking about that, they know why.
Right.
Why do they need to ask you what's on their mind?
Well, because it solidifies guilt on your part. Most police cars have a dash cam system with a microphone, and the police officer usually has a microphone on them. If they pull you over and you say, yes, I was doing 60 in a 50, and you try to fight that in court, you're going to lose.
Well, I want to think of the mindset of, I mean, if you're sitting there, you as a traveler, somebody driving your automobile, you got to think, why are they asking me that question? And I'm getting you in the audience there to think about this. Why are they asking you that question? You know they know the answers to why they pulled you over, so why are they even asking you? Okay? So it isn't about that they don't know. Come on, they know. They want you to admit to something like you're saying.
That's right.
So just think about that for a second. If you understand that concept right there, that this isn't a legitimate question. This is a question to convict you.
Right.
I mean, that's huge. And I think if a person understands that question is not innocent, it's a question to convict yourself, you better realize, I better not answer that question, because I may even answer it wrongly. I may be so scared, and I say, well, you may not know. Was I speeding? Was I going 10 miles over the speed limit? You may have done it 5 miles ago, and you were driving the speed limit right then, but you didn't know when that police officer was watching you.
Right.
He may be getting you for failure to turn your signal on.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you've admitted, well, you were over the speed limit by 10 miles. Now you got an automatic ticket. You just admitted your guilt.
Yep.
When all it was going to be, you didn't turn your turn signal on. So So when they ask you that question, and you said this before, that when they ask you the question, do you know why I pulled you over? Your answer would be, what would you say to them?
Why did you pull me over? I always answer questions with questions.
Yeah.
And you always have the right to remain silent too.
Okay.
You know, you don't have to talk to the police when they ask you questions.
Well, that's interesting. That will come up in our video, but why would you say, officer, I choose to remain silent or exercise my Fifth Amendment rights here? Why would you say that right away versus why did you pull me over?
Just because you don't want to talk to them. You know, or you may not feel comfortable in that situation. You might not know what to say, and it's easier not to say anything than to say the wrong thing. Okay.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I didn't think about that. So when you say, officer, I choose not to incriminate myself, I choose my Fifth Amendment rights, I want an attorney, what's that officer's responsibility then at that point in time? What are we to expect the officer to do?
During a traffic stop, to run your license and either issue you a ticket or let you go at that point in time.
It should be that simple.
It should be that simple.
So if the officer keeps asking you questions after you invoked the Fifth Amendment and wanting to see an attorney or have an attorney, but he keeps asking you questions, what do you do then?
I would personally repeat, I respectfully do not want to answer any questions.
Okay. And just keep repeating that.
Just keep repeating that.
Yeah. Okay. So you get through that. The officer's still talking. You found out why they pulled you over, because you said, "Well, why have you pulled me over?" They come up with something. Mm-hmm. So let's say it was speeding. Okay, what happens then?
Well, they're either going to issue a warning, a ticket, or just let you go. I still would not admit to it. I wouldn't. I would definitely remain silent at that point in time. A traffic stop is not the place to argue the law.
Okay.
The place to argue the law in guilt versus innocence is a courtroom.
Okay.
You're not going to win that argument with a police officer on the street.
So, if it's speeding, they really have. I mean, if you go through the steps you've said so far, really the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to give you a citation,
right? Or
they're going to let you go,
right?
And once they give you that, you've kind of forced their hands to settle this quickly, and they haven't been able to do any search. But let's say they're not happy that you've exercised your fifth, or that you've made them tip their hand right away and say, well, this is what you do. Well, say they accuse you, well, you were going 10 miles over the speed limit. At that point in time, you still don't admit to it.
Right, no.
You just don't say anything. Just don't say anything.
Exactly.
Okay. That reminds me, there's a video out there. I've shown it on the show in the past, but it's called Don't Talk to the Police. Just Google it, Don't Talk to the Police. And it's done by a prosecuting attorney, and it's done by I believe, a county sheriff, who both say don't talk to the police, and they lay out all the legal reasons for that. And it's a fascinating video that I think everybody should watch, just so in case you don't believe us, you don't believe them. And this was done at a law school. This presentation was made. So you just say nothing.
Right.
Okay. And they really got to go about their business. But I see what happens is people go and say, well, can we search your car?
That happens a lot. I always recommend to refuse searches. Maybe your car is clean, but I'm sure everybody's had somebody in their car, and someone might have dropped something or who knows what.
Right.
If police need to ask to search your car, they don't have probable cause to search it.
Because they'll just go and do it.
Right, right. If they have probable cause, they're just going to
Well, they may have probable cause, but you gave consent, so, I mean, so that may be another reason they ask, is just so that gets them off the legal requirement.
Yeah, it very well could be. But I would always recommend to refuse searches.
No, that brings up another issue, is because there are bad actors once in a while.
Right.
Bad police officers. I mean, we've seen this happen in Hennepin County courtrooms, where officers have come in and thrown some drugs down by a person in a courtroom and try to get them in trouble. And it does.
It does, yes.
Until you can prove yourself innocent. But that's a horrific process to go through. So don't give them the opportunity or the temptation to do something bad.
Right, right.
In there. So refuse the search.
Right.
And then they can't search, right?
No, no, they cannot search without your permission or probable cause.
Okay.
So.
Well, we got a phone call here. So, caller, do you have a comment or question?
Yeah, this is Rich Neumeister. I'm
Hi,
getting a
Rich.
lot of feedback, and
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but
It's the phone.
I just listened to your, I just tuned in, but I don't know, maybe Andrew would like to talk about how important it is to use the Data Practices Act to find out about behavior by government and some of the examples that he has used it. I know that he has done that in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that here. Do quickly, and then we're going to get into your video of your what time you got pulled over.
Sure.
And you'll see all this come to life that we've been talking about, and why it works and why it doesn't, or may not. So, so how did you? You know, you've been pulled over, but you have to protect yourself.
Right.
So you go through the data practices.
Yes, that's
routine.
That's definitely one of the tools I use. Every time that that I have been in a traffic stop, I've always done a Data Practice Act request for the officer's report on that stop.
Every time.
Every time.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Legit or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That and the video.
Okay.
You know.
Well, it's good practice anyway.
Sure.
For when you're really going to need it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And you know, sometimes the officer's report does not correlate with the video, which is very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with it then?
You could file a complaint. That probably wouldn't go very far.
Mm-hmm.
I personally just put the videos on the internet and let the general public decide.
Okay. And you do have a website, and we didn't put it up there. YouTube.com /
TheDrewks.
TheDrewks, spelled D-R...
EWKS.
EWKS. Maybe we can remember to get that up there so people can look at some of your videos, which I think are fascinating. How do you do a data practice request?
It's pretty simple. You just write a letter to the authority for that organization. Usually with police departments, I go with the chief of police, and it will work its way to whoever the authority is.
Right.
And then I just ask for the dash cam video and the police report. And you know, in a matter of usually a week or less, I have both of them.
So there's a specific statute you cite?
Yes, Minnesota Chapter 13.
That's it?
Yep.
Minnesota Chapter 13.
That's right.
Easy enough.
Yep.
Okay. I'll have to have you help me with my first data practice request.
Definitely.
But that sounds easy enough. I should be able to do it just off that information.
Mm-hmm.
We're running out of time. We haven't seen your video.
Sure.
So we're going to watch that here. Mac stop number 1. This is where you're getting pulled over coming out of a McDonald's.
All right.
Okay. You may want to add commentary.
Hi! Driver's license, proof of insurance, please. You bet. You pull into McDonald's like you're going to get food, and then you go around me and you decide to leave. So did you go inside and get it, or when did you get it? Excuse me? Go ahead.
Now, right here, I'm getting
So
the
did you go through the
driver's
drive-thru
license
and then
and
go around
insurance
again,
for the
or did you
officer.
go inside and get it, or how'd that work? Excuse me? Your Fifth Amendment rights? Okay, well then give me your driver's license, Mr. Fifth Amendment rights.
That was just rude.
That was.
You realize the Fifth Amendment's only for use inside a court of law, correct? Okay, Andrew? Why do you need to have the right to remain silent? What did you do illegal that you feel the need to avail yourself of the right to remain silent? Got it.
Now, what I think is interesting is the officer automatically thought that I was guilty of something, just for you know,
North phone right.
my Fifth Amendment
Right at
rights
Brady,
being exercised.
377 Charles Road.
Well, he was trying to get you
Raise your hand, go out,
to
pipe 2
admit.
times.
He was asking you what you do wrong,
Right.
that you need to exercise your faith. Well, you don't have to do anything wrong.
No, and it's not just for use in court.
Right.
Yeah.
It's anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah. That's a fascinating. Well, what was interesting here, which was different, because the officer came up to you and right away asked for your driver's license and insurance.
Right.
He didn't do the question, why
No.
did I pull you over?
No, I actually had to ask him.
Or do you know why I
Right.
pulled you over? But because he asked you right away for your driver's license, because usually they don't ask for that first. Usually they go, do you know why I pulled you over?
Right.
Because they have to have a reason to pull you over. And you have no obligation to give you them anything, right, until they tell you why. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so he hadn't done that. He just walked up, give me your license and registration.
Right.
And you properly asked him, officer, why did you pull me over?
Right.
And he said...
He said because I went around him at McDonald's.
And didn't go through the drive-thru.
I didn't go through the drive-thru.
But it looked like you were going to and then didn't. So.
Right. Right.
Unbelievable.
I don't see that as a probable cause or a reasonable suspicion.
No, not at all. So why do you need to exercise your fifth was a question he asked.
Right.
And your answer was?
I just didn't want to talk. I didn't understand the situation that was going on. I didn't understand why I was being pulled over.
Exactly, and I think that's the same thing that happened to Michelle McDonald. Why are you pulling me over? And the guy couldn't articulate it. Well, you don't get information if you can't tell me why you're pulling me over.
Right.
Okay, well, let's go on to the next video then. Or was there any other points you wanted to make on this one?
No, I think I covered the points on the first part.
So you saw the initial stop.
Yep.
You got the license and everything. Okay,
right.
So let's go to the next one.
1423 77 Northwest 3rd. Shots fired. One from the north.
Now, I would like to point out that the squad car is coming as backup. You can see in the lower right-hand corner, is doing nearly 100 miles per hour through a residential area. All for, you know, me exercising my Fifth Amendment right.
First stop without probable cause.
Yeah. You know, there's no danger to the officer.
37, can you let the main personnel know that I've got 2 cars, that's enough?
2 cars, that's enough.
Thank you, 47 minutes.
And how many cars showed up?
I think 11 squad cars in total came by.
So I stop him because I go to McDonald's to get a burger, and he drives around like he's going to get one, and then he quick zips around me and takes off out of McDonald's and decides that he's not hungry. So I pull him over because it's suspicious. Nobody's going to do that. I walk up to him, ask him for his driver's license, and he says, I plead the Fifth. And I go, that's actually for use inside a court of law. All I was going to do is ask you, he goes, why'd you stop me? So I tell him, it's awfully suspicious. People don't usually do that. So I ask him for his driver's license, and he goes, I have the right to remain silent. I'm going to do that. And I'm like, dude, what the, you know? So I'm like, you know what, before I start asking anything else or start looking anywhere else, this guy just started off with the total, well, I don't know if he's a sovereign citizen or what. The other thing that's weird is, when I asked him where he was going, he said he was heading home. He lives on B2. He went totally past his house. So, Nothing yet, but it was like he was acting so screwy. I'm like, I don't even know.
All right, let's stop the video there for a sec, just to hold it there. Before I started asking anything else, so he had a whole bunch of questions. He was going to do a search on you.
Right.
That's what I get out of that question, or looking anywhere else.
Right.
He wanted to look further and to investigate more.
Yep.
He was doing a search. He just admits, I'm getting ready to do a search. And he's got no reason to pull you over except you're suspicious of being suspicious.
Pretty much, yes.
I mean, did you catch that when he was, well, of course, that you didn't hear that conversation
Right.
coming up to the car.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't catch it at the time, but looking back on the video, yeah, it differs a little than what he said. I gave him my driver's license and proof of insurance immediately when he asked for it. You can hear me asking him if I can go in my glove box to get it for him. And to his colleagues, he says that the first thing I said was, I plead the fifth, which is not entirely true.
Right. That was not true. The first thing you did was give him your license.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I asked him why I was being...
And then you asked him why. And so he was setting up a different scenario. I don't know whether it was intentional or not. We really can't read his mind, which he expects us to do. Most police officers expect you to do is to read their mind. Why did I pull you over, for example? Then he makes a statement, I don't know if he's a sovereign citizen or what. Okay. Well, that's a statement regarding there are a group of people who, in my opinion, have taken the idea we are sovereign citizens. I mean, all of us are born with unalienable rights that are given by God. That's what being a sovereign citizen means. The government has no claim on us as a free person. But there are a group of people out there called, quote unquote, sovereign citizens that are probably can be or may be engaged in some illegal activities that they want to do that are against the law, and these officers have every right to go in and deal with. But why do you jump to that conclusion?
I have no idea why you jumped to that conclusion.
Because everybody should be able to do what you did, and it's not even a thought.
It's
not
simply
even an issue.
It's simply exercising your rights.
Okay. All right. Let's continue on. We're running out of time. Bad time management again.
I already told them to cancel. Andrew, what's the deal, man?
With what?
Okay, you realize it's highly unusual for someone to have the position that you're at right now, correct?
I suppose.
Okay, so why are you so oppositional for something that we would have already been done with had you not been so oppositional?
Well, can you make yourself more clear?
Can you make yourself more clear?
Yeah.
As far as what?
What are you talking about?
First of all, I've never had anybody claim the fifth when I ask them for their driver's license. Second of all, when I just ask somebody a couple simple questions so that I can either verify that they're not intoxicated or they're not up to something, I've never had anybody tell me that they have the right to remain silent and they're going to exercise that. Okay. Because actually, unless I've got you in custody for something, which obviously I don't, and I'm asking you questions about a specific crime, that doesn't work either, dude.
I don't want to answer any questions.
Okay. Ma'am, are you in the same boat as him?
Let's come back here. All right. We're running out of time here, so your comments on that.
What I think was really interesting about that is that he said he didn't have me in custody.
Right.
Well,
you were stopped.
Yeah, there was 4, Ramsey County Sheriff's deputies around me. I was in custody. I was being detained. I wasn't going anywhere. I did not have the freedom to leave that situation at that time at all.
And he was asking you questions to indict you. He said that. I'm asking a couple simple questions to verify whether you're a criminal or not.
Right.
Whether you're intoxicated or not up to something good. I mean, he just admits that he's got nothing on you. And so eventually, he lets you go. He finds out who you are.
Yes.
That you recorded a sheriff deputy, which was your legal right, had been charged with a crime for doing that, and got acquitted of that in court.
Right.
So he figures, oh, you know your stuff.
And
See you
lets me
later.
go right away. Yep.
And lets you go. Well, and what's this officer doing now? 10
Desk job.
seconds. He's got a desk job now.
Yep.
Andrew, we're going to have you back on because we didn't get to what happens when the police come to the sidewalk or what come to your home.
Sure.
Because that's important. But this is a big step. You follow these things, you're going to be okay. Should be okay. At least you protected yourself and get the data practices information. Okay, remember, if you don't defend other people's liberties, who's going to defend yours? And good men don't do nothing. God bless. Have a great week. Thank you, Andrew.
But now I see that you're